Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of FusioCraft, and welcome to the new wireframe dirt block area of Calcite Cove. Surprise, surprise, I have decided to go ahead and finish up Calcite Cove, and as you can see here, the town is now officially done. These are the rest of the builds. This is their final state. I don't plan on doing anything else. This is it. This is the end of Calcite Cove. Thank you for watching. Okay, so I basically laid out a bunch of, I don't know, little 3D wireframe plans for the buildings that I want to fill in these spaces. And unless a random building or two pops into my mind that I want to squeeze into town, this is going to be it. This is going to be like the first draft of Calcite Cove, fully fleshed out. Once I get all of these builds done, it will be the first time I consider Calcite Cove to be a finished town. I finished the central square, but the central square is not all of town. So this area is mostly going to be residential. It's going to be houses. This big one, this is going to be apartment buildings, and I want to try to fit a pool back here. That over there is obviously going to be the barn next to the farming area that I also need to flesh out a little more. And these other 4 builds are all just going to be houses. People have to actually live somewhere in this town, right? This one's going to be a log cabin, and these 3 are all very Sea Ranch inspired. The wooden modernist takes that the Sea Ranch houses have, I'm going to translate into Minecraft, which will be easy. If you go ahead and Google Sea Ranch, the architecture that those houses have, it is very interesting, but it's also very Minecraftable. This one that I was just on top of is going to have kind of 2 different roof sections. I might mess with the overall design a little bit just to make it a little more interesting, but I brought out this section of the top for a little bit. And I don't know, I might do something with the back here as soon as I built it. Here we have a much smaller house that's going to basically be a 1-story with a small loft up here. The whole point of this house is you're right next to the ocean, so you want to have a huge view, a giant window looking out at the ocean water. So you're going to come in here, and there's going to be some stairs up to that loft, and this is going to be the main area of the house. This one is relatively a larger house compared to the others, and it has a lot of stuff going on. This section right here is going to be almost completely glass, like a glass bedroom overlooking the ocean. Kind of same idea here. This is the ocean side. You want to get the big views. This will be the kitchen, perhaps. I don't know what the interiors are going to look like just yet. And this log cabin is going to start off with a porch right here. And you go inside, and it's not a very complex log cabin. I just wanted it to fill the space nicely. And I figured since this is the most inland house in town, since it is the most surrounded by pine trees, it would look very nice to just have a spruce cabin right here. That's not all I've done between episodes. Like I mentioned before, I did a little more fine-tuning, finished the ceiling here. There's now more dripstone. The calcite kind of continues up to the ceiling, so there's that bit of connectedness. And I've been doing some grinding and resource collecting here and there, trying to get enough building materials for these houses. I want to just get straight into it. This will be the episode where I finish Calcite Cove. To kick things off with the construction here, I have assembled a ton of shulker boxes full of things that I think I might need. I have a lot of general ideas, but I really don't know what specifically I'm going to use to build these. Here you can see I have a huge box full of blue blocks. I don't know if you may have noticed by now, but in order to keep Calcite Cove feeling a little consistent, I try to sneak blue into all of the builds, or at least almost all of them. Obviously here we have a huge blue highlight with the painted wall downstairs. This entire building's blue. This house has blue highlights as well. Several blue highlights to this build. I don't think I need to keep talking like, I feel like it's pretty obvious as soon as it's pointed out. Not every single build has blue, but enough do where together the town feels like it has a little bit of that identity. Blue is obviously a very coastal color, especially like the cyans as well. I think I would have steered a little more towards that sea green type color if there was more of that in Minecraft, but that's mostly sequestered to copper and prismarine, and I would like more blocks than just those if I were to go down that specific route. I feel like perhaps I should start with the easy one. Back here in the farm area, this barn, I'm definitely going to use mangrove planks for most of it. One of my first thoughts upon seeing the new mangrove texture was, hey look, we now have barn wood. So let me lay down the base layer of blocks for this building. And there we go. Now we have a brand new barn here at this farm area. We have the mangrove planks, deep slate roof, and I used the mushroom stems as like the white painted wood. In the areas where you'd expect it, it's the closest block to it. I went for a very oak interior, and I have a lot of packed mud here in the middle, like that's been tracked in over time as like a, I don't know, a thin layer of just dirt and stuff on top of this wood. And now I keep all my prized animals in here. We got Fabio Buttermane, Skulkio Spooky Mane, we got my one and only Mushroom, and that white horse that I still don't have a name for. It wandered back into Calcite Cove and it was hanging out outside of the Cayucas house, so I don't know, I guess I brought him back in. I still can't think of a good name. Leave a name in the comments. So, as you can see here, this barn is like nestled perfectly in between this farm area I have set up and the sidewalk on the other side. Not entirely sure what I'm doing here with these roots. Like, it's kind of got a dead bush type of vibe. I don't know, there's just some dead vegetation kind of built up on the sides of this barn, I guess. And then you can go up here and I have an oak trapdoor balcony thing. You can easily fly in and out of here in these big windows. These chests and barrels are only here for decoration, but I don't know, I might fill some of these up. This might be where I keep all of my farm stuff. Like right now I just got this chest out here. Yeah, it's a good idea actually. I was really unsure about the placement of all these crops out here, but now that the barn is there, it really feels like it belongs. There's definitely a few more farm details that I want to add. I want to put in a scarecrow, probably put even more crops over here, you know, expand it outwards a little bit, maybe cover this entire hill section. And I think down here would be a good spot for animal pens. So those cows that are still on Ezo Island, I think I should move them over here later. But get this, fellas. That's not the only building I went out and did. I got a little crazy last night and I built this thing up too. The first of the 4 houses that I want to build. It's looking very nice next to the Cayucas house. This is my first bigger build to use these mangrove logs and I love this block so much. Placing them sideways makes them go really well with a lot of the other logs. So texturally, these blocks look like the same block almost, just painted different colors. And I love that quality about this build, that it kind of retains that old wooden feel while still being able to give some color. But even outside of the wood, I have a few walls here on the inside where I've put in some prismarine and some copper. You go inside here, you can see it has extended to this section of the wall as well. And you go up these stairs and you've got this bedroom loft up here. Very comfy house. I love the design of this place. I'm definitely making more Sea Ranch type houses right over here. I'm tempted to use a lot of the same blocks with these other houses. I don't know. I still want each house to have its own identity, but definitely having some things, I don't know, be consistent, build some consistent identity across this neighborhood will look nice. And I'm definitely going to use more of these mangrove logs. I think this one will be acacia, this one will be mangrove, and this one is definitely going to be spruce. This should be a nice, simple, easy one. Let's do it right now! I once again got carried away and built 2 of these buildings back to back. This entire neighborhood starting to look so nice. Oh, I'm excited. So as you can see, this one I went for that more muted grayish color palette, and this one I kept the same as this building right here. Acacia and mangrove are the 2 wood types that suit this town the best, so yeah, I'm using both. And in this house here, we've got beehive floor, a little copper floor kitchen, a nice window that wraps around here, and up here a giant window facing the ocean, some quartz roof. I kind of tried to do a bit of a coloration gleam to the window. Not entirely sure how well I did it, but I think it looks good. And this is the house I was most excited to build just because it's the most interesting in shape. Like, let me get up here and look. Yeah, look at all those different roof sections. We got the glass room here. We got several different sloped roofs. The entryway goes into the building a little bit. The staircase was a little challenging to fit in here, so I opted for a very skinny one. We got a room here, this big living room area, and this is going to be like the big kitchen dining area. We go up here. This is like even more space that could be used for just lounging about and whatnot. And this is like the glassy bedroom. Very cool, very nice. And yeah, suddenly I only have 2 builds left to do, the log cabin and the apartment building. Oh yeah, and I moved the cows from Ezo Island here to this farm area, so it's really starting to look, you know, come together, fleshed out now. The barns, the crops, the livestock. Oh man, this is such a satisfying conclusion to Calcite Cove. I'm so enthralled with the fact that this is almost done. Like, everywhere I turn, there's development. This is awesome. And the log cabin is now done. Look at how good this looks with the copper roof. Suddenly, I just want to make a big woodland town now. This may not be one of the most complex builds on the street, but like visually, this is probably my favorite now. It's got that classic Lincoln Logs feel with the way that I did these logs and the copper roof. A big trapdoor porch, and you go inside here, and I haven't done anything in here yet, other than some lanterns and cobwebs, but look at this window, dude. This is cozy, and oh lord, the view out into the forest back there. Everything is starting to just feel so much more rich and lived in. I say that while there's no furniture or anything in here, but okay. As soon as I get all that stuff done, this town is gonna start feeling really complete. There's definitely a lot of minor details all around town that I still need to get to. But the last big thing, for now, is this apartment building. But before I do that, oh, good lord, I love this. I love this build so much. The bushes underneath, the coarse dirt leading up to it. Absolutely loving using these new root blocks as the inner bush material. I'm so happy. I've been making so much progress in this episode, and I still feel like I'm only just beginning. Looky here. This one was a bit of a grind in terms of material and in terms of size, but here we have the apartment complex. I love how this one came out as well. It's definitely not as glamorous as the houses over here, but it's an apartment complex. It's not supposed to be super nice. I've been living in apartments for so long now, I'm so tired of it. Oh my lord. This one I wanted to go with a very light painted wood, but obviously that doesn't exist in the game, so I used ice. As a matter of fact, much like the human body, this building is mostly water. These white highlights are snow blocks, so it's like mostly ice and snow. It looks great though, and ignoring the fact that in real life logic it's essentially a giant igloo, this looks so fantastic color-wise. This building's best side, and the one that made me want to build it, is the back though, here with the staircase and the glass panes acting as like the railing. I would have gone with a light blue fence of sorts if that existed, but obviously, just like the wood, it doesn't, so I went with glass. One thing I've grown to learn over the years playing Minecraft is that maybe you shouldn't always use the specific types of blocks that most make logical sense. Sometimes, like in this case, it's best to just use whatever looks the best, whatever colors or textures the build the exact way that you want, even if the building material doesn't make any sense. For so long, I don't know, there's something OCD inside of me or something, like, oh no, the building's gonna melt, you can't build it with ice, that's not a building block. Okay, as you can see, there ain't no pool yet. I'm still deciding whether I want a diagonal pool, or if I just want it to go straight in line with everything else. So every apartment is still pretty empty, just one torch to make sure that mobs don't spawn inside. I opted for sandstone slabs for the ceiling and roof. Both because that slabbage gives every floor just that much extra height, and because the texture is very different from bottom to top, which works perfectly with the ceiling and the floor. Also, it's sandstone, so that's another thing that makes it a little more coastal feeling. Speaking of, like, after I did this, I didn't even realize it would do this until I'd placed it all down, but this combination of calcite and polished diorite, the way that the shadow works on only one side of these blocks kind of gives it a wavy-like feel, which, yeah, turned out to work very well with the theming, with the look. A special feature down here on the first floor is that instead of a third apartment down here, we have this walkway that connects to the back, and we have what will be a laundry room and an office. So I'm gonna work on those and the pool next, and then I'm gonna do a little bit more decorating around this place and it'll be done. You know all those things I said I would just do? Well, I did all of them. And more some. For starters, in order to further detail the build and make it look a little less boring and flat, I added all these, like, not window sills, window overhangs? I don't actually know the actual term. And I added some slight coloration and shadow to the build with the blue ice on the top and in the corners where you'd expect the most shadows to be. So now the shape and the coloration is a little more involved, a little more interesting, but not super over the top either. It looks really nice, and this type of sky baby blue is something that I wish existed a little more in the game. All of the light blues are a little too saturated. These are the only blocks that I can use for this type of color. Here we have the office, and here I've got a book and quill. I don't really have something big and fleshed out for like a lease here, but if I did, this is where it would go. You know, I might write things on these signs eventually too, like the rules or something. Here we have the laundry room, and I don't know, something about the end stone just gives me laundromat vibes, so this is the first time on this server that I'm using the end bricks, and it's for a laundromat. I don't know, it feels like it fits. Scaffolding acting as those cheap plastic shelves that are kind of connected together. Maybe I'll have some shelves and put some like, I don't know, blue cyan candles. Oh! Orange candles, those ones would look like the Tide soap containers or something. And out here, we now have a pool. I decided it would go just in line with the building. I wanted to do the diagonal, but then I felt like there would be a good place to put these chairs. I have some white and pink flowers wrapping around, and this is my first time using these pearlescent frog lights. I love lighting up my pools. Something about the pool glowing at night, just, it's a vibe. Back when I lived in a condo in San Jose, the pool was always lit at night, and I think that's what I want to keep capturing. And yeah, more texturing out here on the back. No windowsills, because we don't really need them here. And yeah, now it looks really good, both from the front and the back. And, you know, it originally already looked good from the back, but now, no matter where I'm looking at this building, I think it looks pretty complete. It looks more complete than some of these other buildings. That's all I'm gonna say. Which I guess acts as a good segue. Now that I have finally finished every single build that I just planned out and created this video, now that all of these structures in Calcite Cove are done, maybe it's time to go back and finish some of the things I haven't done yet. Because although everything may be done, it's not really done. Okay, so the first major building update is now done, and I'm gonna leave it a bit of a surprise as I lead up to it. So like I talked about earlier, I'm trying to make the color blue a very reoccurring color in my region. And when I was picking the colors for what I was gonna build my lighthouse out of, you know, you got your standard whites and reds of the typical lighthouse, I landed on pink terracotta for the red part. Not only did that work well in giving off this faded painted red look, but it made me ponder for a second, you know, pink is actually a very good color that goes well with the aquamarines of the coastal area. Coastal aquamarines and pink, that's a good combo. And so while it may not be as glaringly apparent as all the blues I've sprinkled around town, there are indeed a lot of tiny little pink highlights. With the greenery, with small building details. And so let me introduce to you the new and improved boat shack. This thing legit went from the ugliest thing in all of town to one of my favorite little spots. And check this out. Because I established that big furnace in the back, oh my gosh, it's like a focal point when you look at town now. See, let's go over here. You know, I'm mining up my oxidized copper, as one does, and I look over at town, and look at that! This boat shack now draws you in not just because of its pink highlights, but because of the movement of this smoke. It's more set apart in its surroundings, it's got that contrast, and suddenly this entire section looks so much more alive. I need to do more things like this to the rest of town. So let's go back to the build, because I have fully fleshed out the interior now. Ow! You can see a bit of the cobbly foundation and the moss making its way up slowly along the walls. And I've placed additional contrast here on the doorways so that you can really tell what's the door and what's not. I've upgraded these handles. As you can see here, I have raised the boat that used to be down here, and I changed it out for oak because obviously if everything in here is spruce, there was no contrast at all. These used to be spruce. I don't know why I did that. Now we got bundles of logs here, and it's all being cut up here. I want to work this out a little more. The hay floor, this is already the closest thing to sawdust. So the only other thing I could use was just bark, I guess. Like, these are the shredded remains of some wood. More pink, flowers in the windows, and up here, this is my favorite part. I always wanted this attic to just be a big clustered mess of treasures. So now you've got all kinds of boats and chests and barrels and chests in boats thanks to the new update. A decorative pufferfish. It's not real, guys. It's not real. It's not a real pufferfish, guys. I didn't kill a pufferfish, I swear. And from up here, you can actually jump into the boat dangling from the ceiling. The other great reason for raising this thing was so that I could actually extend this part a little bit more without it feeling like it's way too in your face in the entryway. And now this entire room has way more breathing space. The back room here is still a little bit of a work in progress, but as you can see, I've set up this furnace area with an anvil here. I still got to put carpet down and put down some final decorations, but for the most part, this guy's almost free to roam around. It's been like, what? I think I built this building in January, so he's literally been there for half a year. I'm so sorry I got to you so late. I almost forgot to show the whole chimney back here, working up from nether bricks to blackstone bricks. I think that's a good transition because it makes the top part a little more ashy feeling, you know? Now that I've almost fully fleshed that building out, there is a new ugliest building in town, and it is this one. I still do not entirely know what I want to do with this, but I know a lot of changes have to be made. I want to reshape this a little bit. I want to swap blocks out. I need to give this life its own identity. I need you to be able to look at it and be able to tell what the inside actually even is. I haven't even finished the inside. Like, this is a placeholder. Enough talk. Let's yassify this. Okay, I lied. Instead, I decided to upgrade this building next to it. I kind of had to in order to figure out the size that I wanted to make this. I think I'm straight up just going to tear this entire thing down and do a completely new design. I was trying to figure something else out in creative, and I've just decided it's best to start over at this point. And I've been meaning to make the visitor center bigger for something up there that I'm going to show you in a second. So with this building bigger, and this building having a redesign in the works, I figured this entire space, I think, is going to be completely used up. That gazebo that used to be here was basically right along the edge of this building. And soon this building is going to be slightly closer, and there's only going to be a little bit of an alley here. Ah, scary, scary demons. That's right, burn. Burn! So the gazebo ended up right over here, which is actually a much better spot for it. Not only will you have this huge ocean view from the gazebo, which is obviously way cooler, but now this empty bit of space is filled in like perfectly. I was unsure of what I wanted to put in this area, and I think this gazebo is perfect for this spot. And over here I'll have a path that'll go down to this beach, which I've just been fleshing out. And this path is not just going to be a path down the hill, it's going to be like a structure. There's going to be a wooden stair structure that takes you down, like on a lot of beaches on the actual California coast. Oh, I think it's also worth pointing out that I kind of made the transition between Central Park and the main street a little more, I don't know, not awkward. You know me, I like to really detail my paths and whatnot and make things feel like they're not just rammed up against each other. I used to commit the ultimate sin of making everything flat and everything straight, and so I'm really trying to go against that now. And oh my gosh, this already makes the town look so much better. Like, if you go up here and you take a look down there, yeah, look at that. It actually feels like, I don't know, the Central Park is, I don't know, more well integrated. Now, I'm not 100% done with the update of the interior, but I've got a bit of a start here. I'm thinking about doing something with these purple frog lights. I'm gonna sleep on this and see what I do later. But I put the map here, centered here in a room that allows it much more breathing space. You can actually walk around it comfortably. And I put a pedestal here full of information about the surroundings. Some of these things are just kind of here to motivate myself to actually build all the things I want to build. And I've set up a few museum type spots for some things that kind of let you know more information about town, such as the high presence of calcite, and, you know, the lore behind town, I guess. So I guess I'll come up with 2 more things of lore that are gonna be over here. But up here, this is the main highlight of this building now. I have a 1:9-ish scale model of the entire town. You got the cove using lapis as the water, and I love the squid head popping out. The beach, the pathway into town, the one sapling that you know won't grow on you acting as the trees. Oh good lord, I forgot to wax this and it already reverted all the way back to oxidized. That was fast. Look at how perfect the mini docks are. Like, this is awesome. But yeah, this is a fun little thing that I found in my creative world like a few nights ago, and I thought, why not just build that in the actual town? And then I realized, wait a second, I think I was gonna build this in the actual town, and I think that was the thing that I wanted to use the top 4 of this building for all those months ago. So hooray, hooray, I finally remembered what I wanted to do up here, and it turned out I needed way more space for it, so I've had to basically completely just expand this building just for that. But it was worth it, because when I first built this building, my first thought was, dang, the map alone fills up like the entire first floor. I think I should have built this bigger. So now a few major upgrades later, and I'm starting to realize that finishing Calcite Cove this video, it might not actually be able to happen. I think I bit off more than I can chew, but I will say this. Back in the beginning of the video, I said the first draft, and technically, that is true. The first draft of Calcite Cove is done. Every building I had plans for is now built. And even if some of them need some updates, even if there's some landscaping in and around town that still needs to be done, the main form, the main shape of town, and all the buildings in it are here. I guess I'm going to call this like Calcite Cove Alpha. And the rest of my additions here are going to be updates, just like Minecraft. So yeah, I say that Calcite Cove is done enough to be called done. Now I just need to go in and, you know, fix a few things here and there. That's about it. It used to be that the town even touching this side of the peninsula felt like a far off thing, and now it kind of almost is with this barn. And oh my gosh, you can just fly over. This town is so big that I need several nether portals, I feel like. I'm super happy. Like I said before, this is like the best thing I've ever done in Minecraft, and I just keep on making it better. This has been Qualia, thanks for watching. See you on the next episode where, among other things, I continue to flesh out Calcite Cove and update it. This is like the full release 1.0 Calcite Cove. Stay tuned for the 1.1 update. So stupid.